Well, everybody, week one of our TN season is in the books, and I finally have to admit something I've been holding on to for several months now is incorrect. The belief that Zen is the best deck in the format, I just can't stand by it anymore. I was wrong. Zen is not the best deck in the format, and that is very clear to me, at the very least, thanks to these results. Because if we take a look at Road to Nationals week number 1 events, my months long held, if you will, belief that Zen was the best deck in the format and just had all of the answers is not propped up by the data that we see, because Viserai, Runeblood, sits at the number 1 point-getting spot, tied with New, Alluring Desire. Those two heroes sit with 14 wins apiece across the totality of week number 1 in the Road to Nationals season. And what does it mean? Those are two heroes that Zen just can't go toe-to-toe with on a consistent enough basis to get the wins in place of them. Now, that could be reading too far into the data, but let's continue, because Aurora also above Zen at 13, literally one RTN win away from the other two. Syndra, the breakout deck of this hunted meta, sits at 11 wins, and shockingly enough, Arachne Marionette, with all the disruptive potential and aggression available to it, sits with 8. Prism, Awakener of Soul, at 7. I called that a couple weeks ago, in fact, the overall tier list that I made with Zen being in the number 1 spot. I put Prism as one of the best heroes. Aggressive Prism pushes the best numbers in the game. I mean, if you don't have poppers, if you don't have ways to disrupt or get in front of the overall Prism game plan, she just runs you over. And right behind her is the other illusionist right now, Enigma Ledger of Ancestry. And then we come to Zen at a distant 4 wins from the top hero in Viserai and New, being at 14. Look, I will say it again. I was wrong. I thought Zen had all of the answers to the questions, and it was a skill issue. Maybe it is a skill issue. You know, you could also say this is indicative of smaller metas and specialized sort of local gameplay within tight-knit communities, right? So maybe there's a Zen player that, you know, is really good in this community, but over there in the other one where the other RTN's happening, not so much, and they decide not to travel for it, so on and so forth. There could be explanations sort of ancillarily. That's not a word. I'm using it anyway. Ancillarily, that's a pretty cool sounding word. There could be those extenuating circumstances, but at this point, the proof is perhaps in the pudding. And I don't even think Pudding is playing Zen right now. That's a terrible joke. I don't care. I'm going to keep it in. I'm not cutting that. Florian Rotwood Harbinger sits at 3, tied with Dorinthia and Azalea. I want to point out Azalea right there. Azalea is actually something, a deck I'm considering playing in my RTN. I am still weighing my options. I really like the advent of Verdance that is kind of happening right now. I think Verdance is incredibly enticing as a wizard player that could perhaps make some waves. I'm also looking at Azalea as a possibility because of the disruption that is proposed by the deck. Leading, or I guess I shouldn't say leading, but rounding out the pack, we have Vincent Iron Maiden. Kano still picks up a couple wins. Riptide picks up 2 wins alongside of Vincent and Kano. KO, Victor, Arachne slipped through the cracks also with 2 wins. And then Fang Drakai of Blades sitting at 1 win. Dash.io and Ira Scarlet Revenger also with 1 win. So what does this mean for the point totals? Because those are the things that actually changed recently. They changed how they're doing the point totals as I accidentally grab the background and move it around. But who cares? Because no one's paying attention, right? Because you're listening while you drive your motor vehicle. Hopefully not staring at the screen while driving the motor vehicle. But if I press this button, then I press that button, you can see, boom, there you go. There's the Living Legend leaderboard for the H&T season. This hunted season represents 1,500 points for the Road to Nationals season. This is also, by the way, does include calling finishes, calling points, and battle-hardened points as well, which are lumped in. But within that, we do have the Road to Nationals points being sprinkled around. And what do we see? Well, Zen only gained 12 points. Again, I have to admit where I'm wrong, and where I'm wrong is this. Zen is not the best deck in the format. That moniker is perhaps held by Viserai, or New, or Syndra. I don't believe it personally to be held by the Lightning Runeblade herself, which, where is she? Aurora's right here. Yeah, 409 points. I don't think she's the best deck in the format, but she did finish top 4. Zen certainly, though, not the best deck in the format. Do I expect him to go this Road to Nationals season? Well, I think it's a 4-week-long season. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm doing this from memory. I think this season's 4 weeks long. And if it is, he very well could cross the finish line, but it's going to take some significant point getting from Road to Nationals. Now, there are going to be a smattering of other Battle Hardens, if I remember correctly, coming up here fairly soon. So if he claims a Battle Hardened win, then maybe he gets across. But I do expect this character right here to not be in the Classic Constructed metagame for much longer. One I think we are all confident in saying will not remain is Viserai Runeblood. I think the biggest talk of the town, of course, is Syndra Drakai of Retribution. Already 2 calling wins, giving her 133 points right out the gate. I mean, we're like, what, 3 weeks out from when the Hunted released? Maybe less. 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Yeah, holy crap. 2 weeks. 2 weekends, if you will. And she's already at 133 points. Is that trend going to continue? I don't think it is. I think this is the healthiest and most open meta we've probably seen since the heavy hitters. Why did I blank on the name for a second? I almost said the Hunted because I'm looking at the Hunted boxes. Heavy hitters had a wide open meta that really encouraged you to play just about anything you wanted. You could take to an RTN and do well. I took Kasai to a top 8. No, top 4? Top 4. RTN? ProQuest? One of the two. I can't remember. But it's like you can do that. You can take a hero that is reasonably well positioned, play it well, and finish decently in the top 8 or top 4 or top 2. You know, you can take these heroes and do well. I think that's the same meta that we're in right now. I think that there's a lot of options. And the cool thing about this meta is that there's a lot of questions being asked. How do I want to deal with Syndra? In what way do I want to try and slow them down? Do I want to play an aggressive deck? Do I want to play something that has more disruption built in? In what way do I want to thread the line between those two things to try and answer both a local meta and this sort of universal meta game that we're looking at when we go to a calling, for example? And that's a really, really cool place to be, because it's not necessarily just show up with Zen or show up with New or show up with Enigma. The answer can still be those heroes. So kudos to LSS for putting us into a meta where those heroes are still very good, but it doesn't have to be those 3. You can actually play a lot of other heroes. And I think Riptide perhaps exemplifies that most, picking up 2 RTNs off of the back of Riptide, a hero that has answers to several of these heroes in the form of traps and just disruption like Azalea, but just capable of winning, capable of just taking it to the house. That is very, very cool. Verdant's, of course, getting 25 as well, so on and so forth. Arachne already 24 points right off the bat as well. I'm just really encouraged by the numbers that we saw from this first week. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that even though I missed on thinking Zen was the best deck, and I can finally just put it to bed and just move on with my life and say maybe he's very good, but he's not the best deck in the format. Past all of that, I'm very encouraged to look at this chart and go, wow, I really could play a whole lot of options. I could play different Runeblades, I could play different ninjas, I could play different assassins, I could play different illusionists, I could play at least 1 ranger, if not 2. I mean, when you look at it, Azalea had 3 wins and Riptide had 2, so you might as well put him on there as well. Wizards exist in the game of Flesh and Blood, so that's cool as well. And all this to say, none of this matters because pirates are now a thing. I mean, come on. You didn't think I was going to let the video end before I mentioned that pirates are now a thing in Flesh and Blood. Holy crap. Every time I think about pirates being in this game, I want to just say just the most excited of curse words, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to control myself, and I'm just going to move on to the portion where I ask you to like and subscribe, because if you want to support this channel and you want to support the things that we do, and I will say, if you want to support and be a part of the Pirate Armada, you make the number go to the other number, because eventually that number will get to a 4 and then a 5 and then a 6 and so on and so forth. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.